welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Someone Six Sports. My special guest is Matt Manzella, and we will be talking Buffalo Bills football.
That's right. Buffalo Bills with better stuff, man. I don't know if there's anything much better than the Buffalo Bills. This 2021 season is going to be hyped up, coming off such a great year, kind of a letdown of a year in 2020, but 2021, we're going to get to that Super Bowl. I feel it. Expectations are awfully high. They're awfully high this year, and I think the Bills are going to definitely meet those expectations.
Do you think the Bills will like sign Josh Allen before the season, like during the preseason, or do you think they'll um sign him like during the season?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I released a video last week about this. If you look at Trey White was also a fifth year option. Brandon Bean flexed the fifth year option on Trey White. So if you look at what happened, we did that in March with Trey White, and then right before the season started, Brandon Bean pulled out the numbers, pulled out that fat checkbook, Brandon Bean style, and signed Trey White to a 4 year deal. So I think when you look at Josh Allen's career compared to Trey White's career so far, I mean, Trey White, he was excellent as a rookie. Josh Allen had some hurdles to overcome over those years, and I think he's definitely progressed. The stats don't lie. I mean, from his rookie year, sophomore year, to year three in 2020, Josh Allen definitely proved to be a top elite passer in the league. So there's no doubt in my mind that Brandon B could very well sign him before the season even starts, especially if he balls out this preseason, if he shows himself to his training camp. And the other note, too, is that Josh Allen has all of the pieces around him. He has absolutely no excuses, right? I mean, he has the continuity, he has all the weapons. Now with Emmanuel Sanders, I mean, Dawson Knox living down the street from him this offseason. I think Josh Allen has no excuses. He should take another step forward. He should pick up exactly where he left off. So if he proves that during this training camp, during preseason, I think Brandon Bean definitely signs into a long-term deal before the season. And I think he was saving some money for a potential Zach Ertz trade. If there's an injury, for to a starter in preseason or training camp, God forbid, maybe Brandon Bean is saving that money there, so we bring in another free agent. But if nothing happens like that, like an injury, you had the money there, I'd say go right ahead and sign Josh Allen. If he doesn't show or prove himself, maybe we get into the season a little bit, have Josh Allen with now a crowd in the stands, a little bit different than last year. So I think possibly we sign Josh Allen no later than week 5 to week 9 in 2021.
Yeah, like a few weeks back, I had a Jacksonville Jaguar fan on my show,
Ooh.
um, and like she kind of said that her and I would like do a show like after the game and that on week 9. Either she'd come on here sad or she'd come on here happy, and
Probably going to be sad because Buffalo Bills are taking that one rookie quarterback going against this defense, too. I think this defense, they have a sour taste in their mouth, man. Last year, I think our defense really feels as though it left our offense down. This offense, Josh Allen, who would have thought Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, all this, Brian Dable and this entire offense totally stepped up and shocked the world in 2020 offensively. And our defense actually took a step back, right? When we bring in Eric Washington, a new D line coach, Vernon Butler, all these new faces, Justin Zimmer, Star Ops out. AJ Klein was also new to the defense. So we had a lot of figuring out to do on the defensive side of the football. Early in the year, teams were running it right up the gut, right, it was tough. It was very tough. So if our defense can match what our offense did in 2020, it's just going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And Jacksonville, I think they're definitely a good team. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, definitely the best quarterback coming out in this class. I think he's going to have an easy transition from college to the NFL. So, but I think Buffalo Bills, we got that game. Come on now.
Do you think the Bills have a chance to um exercise their demons against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers this year?
It's a great comment. That's a great comment. And a lot of people keep asking me like, what are my season predictions? Like, what is the record prediction and everything? And my expectation is so high in this season. I really feel as though the Buffalo Bills have every goal to go 20-0, right? To go 17-0 in the regular season and go 20-0 and win the Super Bowl. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. Chances are very low that happens. It could happen. And that's one of the teams, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, Super Bowl champions last year, going against the Buffalo Bills. We definitely have a shot at beating them, And like I said, this defensive line, even Gregory Rousseau, Boogie Basham, Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, Vernon Butler, Justin Zimmer, Ed Oliver, Starr is coming back. It's just unbelievable. Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds. It's just this defense is just top tier. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that Sean McDermott is a defensive minded coach. Our assistant head coach, Leslie Frazier, is a defensive minded head coach. So our offense, I think, is definitely going to do just as good. And our defense is going to get to Tom Brady. And we all know Tom Brady doesn't like getting hit. So it's going to really boil down getting to that quarterback, getting home, laying Tom Brady out early and often.
Do you think that with the addition of Emmanuel Sanders that would help our offense?
Yeah, I think Emmanuel Sanders is absolutely huge. And this is another thing that Bills Mafia is taking way too lightly in my mind. Emmanuel Sanders has a shot at going over 1,000 yards receiving this upcoming year. And really, when you look at what Brandon Beane did, we ultimately got rid of John Smokey Brown and we bring in veteran savvy Emmanuel Sanders. And Emmanuel Sanders, to me, fits Brian Dable's offense and what we're trying to do offensively. A lot of people give us flack on the offense for not running the ball a lot. We don't have a good running attack. But Brian Dable and other coaches in interviews said you don't necessarily have to run the ball. It's also about that short passing game, something that we've seen from the Patriots when Tom Brady was with the Patriots. What Bill Belichick did, it wasn't always running the ball. It was screens. It was the short dump routes, right? And just creating little knacks and openings in the offense. So you don't necessarily have to run the ball. You can call these high completion percentage type plays. Emmanuel Sanders, to me, is a better route runner than John Brown. He can create space a little bit better. He can create space from the defender quicker than John Brown. So he's just a much better fit. So we could see Emmanuel Sanders on the outside. We can see him in the slot. Maybe mix in with Cole Beasley, give Cole Beasley a little bit of a break. So he's an excellent fit, and people are taking the Emmanuel Sanders signing way too lightly in my mind.
What do you think of Cole Beasley's comments, like on Twitter and stuff?
Yeah, to me as a player on this team, you're here to play football. I love Cole Beasley. I'm like one of Cole Beasley's biggest fans. But to be chirping about the vaccine, to get into politics, and you see it with Jerry Hughes. I saw the news, the conversation, public on Twitter, talking about the vaccine and their thoughts on all that. As a player, you just don't want to ruffle the feathers. You don't want the national media and our media to get a hold of that, right? And it's just a conversation that's going to keep coming up. It's a distraction for this entire roster. Now you know what players are for it and against it. I saw a post too on I think it was Facebook talking about the bickering Bills, going back to the bickering Bills over this. It's just something you don't want. You don't want, and we try to put emphasis on being a team, having a tight knit culture, which it kind of shows. I know Jerry Hughes, his final statement there was something along the lines like, I appreciate the debate, but for me, these players shouldn't be debating publicly about this at all. You know, you're here to play football, focus on football. Cole even said last year, I'm surprised too. He even said he deleted his Instagram. He didn't want to look at his Instagram. He's got people managing his account. So I think he should consider giving up Twitter because, yeah, I was definitely disappointed in seeing the babble going on with the Bills players.
Do you think that like Josh Allen will do better with the fans in the stands this year?
That's another awesome question. I know Josh Allen, to me, he gets riled up. You know, I think when the fans are there, he hears them loud and clear. He gets hyped up in that moment, and he's gotten a lot better over this. Don't get me wrong, but I think he starts thinking maybe irrationally at times, a little bit reckless at times. He tries making too much happen. You know, he tries putting too much on his plate. And I don't know if the fans do it to him, the screaming, the yelling, putting the pressure on Josh Allen. But I think having that year off in 2020 without fans gave Josh Allen another year to grow up, to get over that. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to help him. Maybe at home games, it's having fans in the stands is probably going to help our defense more so than anything. And at away games, Josh Allen even admitted during that Kansas City Chiefs game, their fans were so loud it actually hurt him. He couldn't change the play at the line of scrimmage multiple times. He could change it once, but he was afraid to change it again because of miscommunication to his offensive line, to the wide receivers. So in that sense, it could hurt him at away games. At home games, I don't know. I'd say we might break even there.
What do you think of the like special teams situation with the new punter?
Yeah, I know we got yeah, we have a new punter. You know, I think the punter actually let us down. Vorquez let us down last year a few times. Crucial games, you know, missed kicking. So that Matt Hack, he's a veteran. I believe he was with Miami, so he seemed to do pretty well there. But the other concern too on special teams is losing Andre Roberts, right? He had a premier kick returner, punt returner for the Buffalo Bills, one of the top statistical ones, kick returning, punt returning in the league. Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills decide to part ways with him, and it leaves us with really Isaiah McKenzie, Brandon Powell, and that's Marquez Stevenson, our new rookie wide receiver there. So there's some competition there. I know Isaiah McKenzie had that kick return against Miami last year, which is great to see. So I don't know. I think it's really going to boil down to Isaiah McKenzie, Brandon Powell, Marquez Stevenson. Either one of those could easily win the job. And another guy regarding special teams is Tyler Bass. Tyler Bass is one of the best kickers, man, rookie kickers. I was comparing him last year to Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker was the last rookie kicker to win a Super Bowl. So I was concerned when we drafted Tyler Bass as a rookie. I was checking the stats out, going online. I'm like, has there ever been a rookie kicker to win a Super Bowl? Like, why would we do this to ourselves going into the season, the potential to win a Super Bowl and have a rookie kicker, right? But there has been. Justin Tucker was the last one. We've seen the career from Justin Tucker. So Tyler Bass, I think he's doing great. His career, to me, is going to resemble a Justin Tucker.
Do you think the Bills make it like past the AFC Championship game this year?
It's good, man. There's so many teams in the AFC. It's unbelievable. And I was just listening to Chris Brown and Steve Tasker talk about these teams that think that they're going to be competitive in the AFC, and there are just so many of them. I mean, you got the Kansas City Chiefs, the Colts, who we played in the playoffs last year, Baltimore Ravens, who we played in the playoffs last year. The Cleveland Browns, I mean, the national media saying that Cleveland actually has a better shot at beating Kansas City over Buffalo. I mean, that says a lot right there, which I don't believe. I think Buffalo definitely has the best shot at beating them. But then another team making some moves are the Tennessee Titans. I mean, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, their running back too. I'm drawing a blank. Henry. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The guys that are on Tennessee, the AFC is going to be super, super tough. Now, one thing that helps us, I think, is an extremely weak AFC East. You look at the Jets, you look at the Patriots, you look at Miami, younger quarterbacks there, kind of in transitional times. And I think Buffalo Bills will definitely prevail there. But we definitely have a tough schedule. We got a tough schedule. We've got some tough teams to beat. The expectation this year is to get to the Super Bowl and no doubt win the Super Bowl. I think we could definitely do it. We can definitely do it. We just need to bring our A game. I want to see this offense and this defense both bring their A game on a given week. It's either, last year was our offense carrying this team game by game, and our defense just hardly holding on, right? And then in 2019, it was our defense winning games for the Buffalo Bills. So if we can merge this together, if we can merge the offense from 2020 with the defense from 2019, we both bring our A games offensively and defensively. I don't know a team in the NFL that could beat the Buffalo Bills.
Do you think that the Bills learned from when they played the Cardinals in that Hail Mary pass to knock it down instead of trying to intercept it?
Yeah, it happened to us multiple times last year, and it's crazy to me that we didn't get taller players back there, even offensive players. They're throwing it deep in the Hail Mary situation there. Even like a Tremaine Edmonds, he's like 6'4", 6'5". Get him playing safety, get in that back of the end zone. Now, I think we definitely learn from that. I think there's some technique things too. Instead of when they go up high point the football, I think our players were going for the ball, right? But instead, I like the idea of maybe grabbing a hold of one of their arms and pulling it down so they can't catch it instead of trying to go for the ball. And the other thing to consider here too is hopefully we're not ever in a situation where we get in a situation where a team can win it with a Hail Mary. Hopefully we're up in games. It doesn't come down to a final pass period. So if we do our job, do our due diligence all throughout the game, it should never come down to a Hail Mary period.
Do you see any games on this year's schedule that that could maybe come down to a field goal?
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of them. I think Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Tennessee Titans. Those are really the ones I'm nervous about. I'm really nervous about it. It could very well come down to a field goal. I mean, we could just get flat out beaten. The way I see it too. But really depends. How healthy we are, how healthy they are. Me, I love diving into the matchups and the stats and all that. The weather too, how's the weather going? I think the rain hurts the Buffalo Bills. We're this high power passing attack, right? I think it definitely hurts us sometimes, but teams like Baltimore, like the Titans, they run the ball, so with us having a lack of a running attack, it hurts us. So it really depends. And hopefully the stars align when we play these teams, So I think those three teams I'm eyeing up, they're going to be tough to win.
Do you think that with the addition of Matt Breida, our run game will be a little bit better?
I definitely do. Yeah, I think he is definitely a missing element to this running back core. You look at Devin Singletary, you look at Zach Moss. You know, a lot of people when we brought in Zach Moss, Moss mode, everyone was comparing him to Marshawn Lynch and beast mode. He's going to be this hammer, this sludge right up the gut. He's going to power through guys. But you know, Zach Moss, I think he's still young. He still needs to bulk up a little bit to get into that. You know, Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, they're roughly the same size. I mean, you consider what Devin Singletary put on some muscle mass this offseason. I don't know if you saw the picture there too, but Devin Singletary, they're a little bit different. I think he's a little bit more versatile. He's a little bit more shifty. He's agile. Zach Moss is still that kind of one-hit runner. But Matt Breida is just a completely different back. He brings that speed to the running back position. That he's a home run hitter too. So, you know, you look at stretching teams. You have wide receivers that are real fast, and you stretch teams vertically, right? And you spread out their defense, and you create openings in the defense. But you also have a running back now that can stretch defenses horizontally, right? Sideline to sideline. So when you give the ball to Matt Breida and he's running to that sideline, defenses have to account for that speed, and they start spreading outward, right? And you create holes and more running lanes for Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. And the other thing too is if we get down in games going against Tampa Bay, going against Tennessee Titans, going against Kansas City Chiefs and these high-powered offenses, if we're down by 2 or more scores, you know, to me, the running back to get in there is Matt Breida. Matt Breida could get that ball, he could take it to the house, whereas a Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, I don't know if they have enough speed to get all the way to the end zone. I think they'll get chased down. So if we need to score fast, if we need to put points on the board, Matt Breida to me is the way to go at running back.
Do you think that like Isaiah McKenzie would be one of the wide receivers that they keep on the roster this year?
Yeah, I do. You know, when we brought him in from Denver, a lot of people were just saying, "Oh, Isaiah McKenzie, he's here to just be a special teamer and stuff." But I knew that we had a plan. You know, Brian Dable had a plan to get him in on offense, and we saw Isaiah McKenzie make massive strides last year, have more of a role on offense and special teams. He's like this cover 2 beater, Isaiah McKenzie, and those jet sweeps. You know, he's just this hybrid type player that can play multiple roles. He's cross trained, and I know the Bills, they really like that. They really put emphasis on players that can play special teams, that can play offense, they can play multiple roles. You know, you're adding value to this team. So I know the wide receiver depth is extremely deep. It's going to be so hard to make this roster. You look at all the guys that we have, like Jake Kumaro, Duke Williams, even the wide receiver that we just signed here, Marquez Stevenson, right? Brandon Powell, all these guys that are just working their tails off to try and make this team. Isaiah Hodgins, Gabe Davis, and obviously Emmanuel Sanders, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley. I mean, what wide receivers are going to make this team? So, I mean, there is a chance Isaiah McKenzie is gone. He gets cut. But the fact that he has a relationship with Brian Dable, you know, I think that definitely gives him a leg up in the competition.
Do you think that the Bills on the defensive side of the ball, like with Tremaine Edmonds and Trey White, do you think that we would be set to go to the Super Bowl this year?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you got Trey White. I mean, arguably the best cornerback in the National Football League. That is just huge. I mean, that is so huge. I mean, to rely on Trey White to go against opposing teams' top wide receivers, to just know that you have a Trey White there. I think really the concern is opposite of Trey White. And it's always been just kind of like this mixture of players between EJ Gaines coming and going. I always joke he's like a Canadian goose. He comes and goes every season. It's like, what? But now you got Levi Wallace, Dane Jackson, Cam Lewis. It's really the opposite corner of Trey White that I'm concerned with. Also, the slot cornerback I'm really concerned with. You look at the first matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. We benched Taron Johnson, right, for Cam Lewis. Cam Lewis won the job over Taron Johnson. Taron Johnson, to me, he's better against more physical slot wide receivers, those tight ends. He's more of a stocky built slot cornerback. And we're kind of missing that speedier, quicker, agile slot corner. Cam Lewis is definitely that, but there's a guy out there statistically per Pro Football Focus, Brian Poole. He's been one of the best statistically the past few seasons. That would be a free agent that I would consider bringing in just to rotate matchup wise with Taron Johnson, give Cam Lewis more experience in the NFL. So that's huge. But relying on Trey White, that is huge. Tremaine Edmonds, still one of the youngest players on this team, commanding this defense is just huge. I mean, the plays get called into Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds is, getting players aligned. He's commanding this defense, telling players what to do. I mean, for such a young player, I know we flexed the 5th-year option on Tremaine Edmonds too. So all the hype is around Josh Allen and signing Josh Allen, but the quarterback of our offense needs to be re-signed to Josh Allen. And I think the quarterback of our defense, Tremaine Edmonds, definitely needs to be re-signed.
Do you think that Brian Dable is gonna end up maybe being a head coach somewhere sometime down the road in the NFL?
Yeah, Brian Dable is on track to be a head coach of the NFL, but one thing we saw from Brian Dable is that this offseason he's not going to just take any job. I'm sure Brian Dable could have easily became a head coach of a team this offseason, but everything I'm reading and all the rumors that I've heard is that Brian Dable wants to go to a team where they're going to be able to draft a quarterback, where he's going to be able to groom that quarterback to his offense and work with him that way. And I know a lot of people have been commenting on my page the Mitch Trubisky signing. Did the Buffalo Bills bring in Mitch Trubisky to work with Brian Dable this upcoming year? We heard Brandon Beane even say that we don't think Mitch Trubisky's going to be here long. At the end of this year, he's probably going to sign with the team and be a quarterback starter on a different team. So to me, I always think about Brian Dable potentially going to a different team, maybe signing Mitch Trubisky this offseason to be that veteran to teach Brian Dable's rookie quarterback that he drafts. So what I'm trying to say is Brian Dable, the situation has to be right for Brian Dable. Brian Dable has to feel comfortable going to that team. He has to have a good relationship with the GM. He has to know and just have a good relationship and know that GM is going to take care of him and draft the quarterback that he wants for his offense.
Do you think this season, with all the fans and in the stands and stuff, would that make a difference?
Yeah. Honestly, defensively, maybe that's what hurt us so badly defensively. Not having fans in the stands. When you go to Hallmark Stadium or when you get there, just the fans, the passion, Bills Mafia. There's nothing like it, and I've gone to a lot of opposing stadiums, right? I love going to opposing stadiums, but just something about Bills Mafia, the loudness, how we work with this team. I think it's definitely going to help this team without a doubt. Josh Allen, he's grown up, he's matured. He's getting less and less reckless. He's winning from the pocket versus running it. So I think, I don't think the crowd is going to necessarily affect Josh Allen on home games, but I know having a crowd, fans in the stands is definitely going to help this defense. When we're loud, just like Josh Allen said against Kansas City, you can't change calls at the line of scrimmage. So if Bills Mafia is there in full force, you know, the teams like Tom Brady or whoever we're going against this year, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them to call a proper offense with fans in the stands. So I think without a doubt, it's going to help Buffalo Bills.
Do you have a favorite player on the defense or on the offense?
Ooh, that's tough. It's tough to pick a favorite, you know. You know, I kind of look at it versus like football playing style, and I get into the interviews. I like listening to the players and what they have to say and stuff. So from a character aspect too, you know, to me my favorite overall is definitely Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen, he just totally exemplifies the Buffalo Bills. He exemplifies being a team player. And I was the biggest Josh Allen fan when all these quarterbacks were coming out. Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson. You know, at the time we had new era field and Lamar Jackson. I thought he'd be a good new era quarterback. So I was really thinking like either between Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. But what really sold me on Josh Allen was his personality. You know, he likes snowmobiling. He likes the cold. He went to Wyoming, right? And I don't know. I really like Josh Allen from a character aspect, from his playing style. I know I said he's reckless and everything, but it's exciting. It's fun. It's seeing Josh Allen take off with it. He just lit a fire under this franchise. I absolutely love it. And obviously on the defensive side of the football, Trey White. I mean, Trey White is good for a laugh. Every interview, you definitely have to laugh. I mean, whether you're going against the Baltimore Ravens and their playbook goes out in the field and Trey White goes out there and reads it. I mean, this is some classic stuff. And I mean, some other mentions too. Deion Dawkins. I mean, Deion Dawkins is pretty funny. That Jerry Hughes touchdown against Denver last year, and Deion Dawkins on the sideline talking to Jerry Hughes. I mean, that's some good stuff. John Feliciano and the Rockabye Beasley. I mean, these are memories that I'm gonna remember for a very, very long time.
And that Taron Johnson touchdown from that interception with in the Baltimore game, and like um Lamar Jackson couldn't catch him.
I know. Yeah, seeing Deion Dawkins and all those guys get knocked off, man, that's what makes the Buffalo Bills and this team and culture so great. Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, they have done such a great job. It's like it's so hard to find a favorite player on this team because you know they're all just so great in their own ways. You know, they're really special, and it really is unique. You know, I think that's what makes good teams is having a good team bond, having these characters that all fit and come together. But yeah, that was a great scene there, you know, and it's different seeing the offensive players and defensive players have bonds too. It's like, you know, the offensive players and defensive players are tight knit too. You know, usually the offensive players stay with the offense, or the offensive linemen stay with the offensive linemen, but it's like the defensive players with the offensive players. You know, it's awesome. It's great to see. It's a great time to be a Buffalo Bills fan.
Yeah, do you think that like um it'll be different with like the media this year for the interviews and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be, you know, and it really depends on if we can sustain our success. I think a lot of us were spoiled last year with the season that we had. Now, Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs, I think we did a lot as a team because of that bond that we've had. We were able to get together in the off season, and a lot of these teams, I don't think they necessarily have that bond with one another to get together during a pandemic, work together in an off season. So I think the parity of the NFL, like the competition of these teams, that don't necessarily have the culture that the Buffalo Bills have. I mean, their play, they're going to be a lot better coming into the season. We really had this running start in 2020 last year because of the work that we had during the offseason. But I don't think the Bills will have that same running head start. So if the Bills start slow, if we lose games that we're expected to win, the bickering from the media, from the national media too, talking about the Bills aren't as good, or they taking a step back. Questions, I think the negative questions will start coming up more and more, especially with, we already spoke about it, but the whole vaccination debate in the locker room. Is the media going to start saying, well, maybe it was the vaccination, players are divided, the bickering Bills? So you really want to start the season strong. Winning really takes care of the media, so helps them stay positive.
Yeah, do you think that like with the media, um do you think it would be in person this year instead of like on a Zoom call?
Yeah, that's a good point too. I think it will be in person. It definitely will be in person this year. I know there's some variants going around right now where we could have a setback and everything, and that would be a difference. I never even thought about that. That's a great point that you bring up. The Zoom meetings, it wasn't as interpersonal, right? So, yeah, I think we'll have a different type of questions. Maybe the media will get a better sense of the player being in the same room. But yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up there. I'm sure there'll be a slight difference for sure.
Do you think like the pandemic brought the Bills more together?
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. And I think I recall players even saying that too. I mean, we all went through it. We all kind of went through this odd year, that something that we'll probably hopefully never experience again in our lives. I mean, we didn't know what was happening. I worked full time as a property manager all throughout the pandemic. I didn't have a single day off, and it was tough. I mean, who do you listen to? I listen to upper management, listen to my bosses, but it's hard to trust, or you kind of rely on your coworkers. You look one another in the eyes, and you share bonds, or you talk about things and discuss things. And I noticed that with my own coworkers at my job. I think we have a tight bond after the pandemic, and I'm sure Bill's players, we really didn't know what was going to happen, how serious everything was, right? We didn't even know if the NFL could have an entire season, and being away from their families too. They didn't want to risk going home to their families, and kind of what Brandon Beane and the Sean McDermott want, having that $18 million state of the art weight room. Players are really in house, and they stay in house, and we're trying to build that culture. And I think you're right by saying that the pandemic definitely brought us closer as a team.
Do you think Stefan Diggs will be um like a good wide receiver this year for maybe like getting over the 1,000 yards or what?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think the real question here is, whether Stefan Diggs is going to be the number one wide receiver in the NFL again. The story is out. The Josh Allen to Diggs connection is no joke. There is no debating. I mean, number one wide receiver in the NFL. Teams are definitely going to lock that down. And you look at really what Stefan Diggs is. I'm trying to remember the statistic there, but I believe he's around like 82%. He beats man coverage 82% of the time. So for me, opposing defenses are definitely going to either have to double cover Diggs or roll coverage and zone coverage to Diggs. So you're going to have double coverage on Diggs. So is that going to limit his targets from Allen? It very well could. Could open up things more for Emmanuel Sanders, for Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox. So that could hurt Stephon Diggs, but the Buffalo Bills have other weapons to open up this offense, right? I already mentioned them there. So, you know, it really boils down to whether teams try to take Stephon Diggs out of the picture. And I know Bill Belichick really does that. He takes away your number one threat. So going against the Patriots, maybe other teams try to adopt that, just try to limit Stephon Diggs altogether. But Stephon Diggs is one special player. And you got to keep in mind, last year was year one with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, right? They're going to pick up right where they left off. And I remember Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown, they had double moves, triple moves, quadruple moves on their routes. It's unbelievable what you can progress to when a player and wide receiver, quarterback, wide receiver have been working together for a while. So late in the year, I definitely saw some progression there. Maybe Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, they progress from double moves to triple moves, some different scheming up routes. So yeah, I think Stephon Diggs will definitely go over 1,000, but the question to me is whether he's going to remain the number one wide receiver in the NFL.
Do you have anything for me before we wrap it up?
Yeah, you know, I was on your YouTube page. I think you're doing an excellent job. I like the interviews that you're talking to so many people. I mean, Built in Buffalo, Buffalo Plus. I mean, Bills Believers. I mean, I see all you guys out there on YouTube, Bills Mafia. You know, I think you could learn quite a bit talking from everyone. And I think we all do our own research in our own ways. You know, I kind of like listening to interviews more so than reading articles, and I like looking at stats. But you know, someone else, they might do more film study and get into different matchups or whatever it is. So your situation, talking to different people and everything, yeah, I really like it. I think you're going to be a wealth of information by the time you talk to everybody. You know, so I got a question for you, I guess. You know, what's like the most important or most interesting thing that you've learned from the people that you've spoken to? Like, what are you looking forward to in 2021 that you maybe didn't necessarily think of, but after talking with so many people, it's like, yeah, I never thought of that, or this is my concern, or I'm really positive here. Like anything that, anything like that, I guess. Yeah.
Well, we looking forward to the season and seeing if the Bills can make it to the end of the year, like where they would end up in the Super Bowl.
That's right. Super Bowl bound, baby. That's the expectation. Not a doubt in my mind, man. I think, you know, it's Super Bowl or bust. It is Super Bowl or bust for the 2021 Buffalo Bills.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Let's Talk 716 Sports. Thank you to my special guest, Matthew Manzella, and go Bills.
Go Bills.